Welcome everyone to this special edition of the Fireside Chat. As you can tell, it's winter here, and we're with Kunal from Tenacious Bee Collective. So just to give a bit of an understanding as to what these Fireside Chats are about, this is the first Fireside Chat around the topic of climate and biodiversity within the context of community tourism. And we have decided that we wanted to hear from our community partners the amazing work that they're doing to support their communities to adapt to the impacts of climate change, and also use community tourism as a way to improve livelihoods and also engage communities in the climate and biodiversity work that they're doing. So in the Planeterra network, we have a few community partners who are doing amazing work in this sphere. And some of them are in Madagascar. So we have Soazara that we're working with, who are regenerating important forest corridors for the lemurs in their region. But also they're providing water security in the Ranahira region where they work. And then we also have Lamsek Tourism Community Enterprise in Krabi, Thailand, and Floriana Tours in Ecuador, who are using tourism for income, but also to better protect, manage, and regenerate the ecosystems in which they operate. But today, our highlight is of Tenacious Bee Collective, and we'll be going through a few questions with Kunal here to understand what they're doing and to learn about the amazing work that they're doing. So I'm Tom. I've been working for Planeterra now for a year and a half, and I'm also leading the Climate and Biodiversity Initiative. And I'm going to now present to you Kunal. So Kunal, I wanted to ask you the first question. I think this is a simple question, but it also, the answer might be quite complex. So how did Tenacious Bee begin its journey?
Hi, Tom. Yes, this is a long question. The answer is very long. So Tenacious Bee started as a chance opportunity of me meeting my co-founder and us discussing the use of honey as a skincare ointment or use of honey in skincare in general. And this led us to the query of finding good honey for our own skin, using it in our own daily routine. And one thing led to another, and I came across a group of beekeepers very close to my own place in Himachal, where I'm from. And I get to have some interactions with them, and we understood that there is a lot happening in beekeeping complex that we as consumers, we as individuals, we don't really know what's happening. and and we wanted to do something about it. We wanted to understand how to get ourselves good honey and how to figure out what's happening here. Just as something which we were curious about. We didn't have any thought about establishing a company or doing some social work or engaging with community or at all. None of those things were in our mind at the time. But then we slowly got to get exposed to everything that is happening in the beekeeping complex right now. From the beekeepers forced to exploit the bees for honey production and not getting the right prices, to dealers making the most margin, to the consumers getting adulterated honey. Right now, honey is, I think, the second largest adulterated product in the world after olive oil. So it's crazy. So yeah, we just wanted to know more, and one thing led to another, and we met a few of our friends again by chance. We didn't know these people earlier. I and my business partner, and we met them, and the conversation reeled towards environment and an individual's part in preserving that environment. We talk a lot about biodiversity, but nobody really talks about biodiversity crisis and what is it and how is it affecting every day of our life. People in cities, they tend to not realize it because they are surrounded by everything man-made. People like us living in the fragile ecologies, we see it every month. We see the weather patterns changing every month. We see the crop patterns changing every month, and the uncertainty of whether you will have any crop the next month or not. So all those things combined together, and then a few of our friends asked us, okay, if you want to do this, how will you do it? What will your plan be? And how much money would you need to do it? And we started with this. We started identifying what is happening right now in Himachal, in where I'm from, in a small mountain state in India, and in the across Western Himalayas, like a couple of more states that are in India. So I was looking at Indian Western Himalayas to understand what's exactly happening in beekeeping. So we found out a lot about traditional beekeeping. And we can move on to the next slide.
Yeah, thanks, Kunal. That's very, very interesting. Yeah, so you mentioned about the beekeeping that you do, and how this, it started off as wanting, you didn't know how you were going to do it, but you knew that you wanted to promote beekeeping and do it in the right way and do the right thing. And I just wanted to know if you could share a little about ethical beekeeping and what makes it different from regular beekeeping. I'll share some images now about the ethical beekeeping.
Sure. So there are guidelines which are published by a lot of different research agencies, from FAO to different universities in the world, about how to manage your bees properly, how to do it ethically. You see this box here. This is this is an ideal beehive. In this box, if you zoom in, you see two sections. There is a larger bottom section, and then there's a smaller top section, right?
Yeah, I can see
So
that.
So in ethical beekeeping, what you need to do is you need to make sure that bees are not disturbed. How do we do it? We keep one box, which is known as a deep chamber in the industry language, which is 14 inches high and 21 inches wide. We keep that box with honeycombs in it for the bee colony to stay. Now the worker bees, there are three types of bees in the beehive: worker bees, queen bee, and drones. Drones are the male bees which are there for the reproduction. Worker bees are the bees which go out to forage, bring nectar, flap their wings to reduce the moisture of nectar, take care of the larva, take care of the brood. And queen bee is the one that lays eggs. And the worker bees are genetically wired to stay close to the queen bee. So when the flower season is there, worker bees are going out there bringing in nectar. Queen bee is laying her eggs. All of that is happening in that 14-inch box, 14 by 21 inches box. Worker bees will continue filling that box with honey, with nectar, with pollen, as long as all the cells in that block is full. And because the queen bee is also there, they will leave enough space for the queen bee to lay her eggs.
Mm-hmm.
As a whole system, without disturbing them, they know how to work. Once that is done, what we do is we remove the top of that 14 inches box, and we put something called a queen excluder sheet, which is a perforated sheet. Now the queen bee's size is little bigger than the worker bee. So the worker bee can pass through that perforation, but the queen bee cannot. So the queen bee is stuck in the 14 inches box. And on top of that queen excluder sheet, we put a 7 inches small box. Like you see in this one, there's a smaller box on top of it.
Right.
We
Yeah.
keep, we keep a smaller box. The worker bees, since they're genetically wired, they will continue filling the lower box. Once the lower box is completely filled, then they will move on to the upper box, which in industry language we call super chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So we make sure that we harvest honey only if there's any honey in the super chamber. And how do we make sure that the bees are not hurt in the process? Is because when you use smoke, we you must have seen videos or people using smoke to work with the bees. The smoke acts as a pheromone masker. When the bees see something's happening in the hive, they release a pheromone, good, bad, ugly, whatever pheromone they think is necessary.
Yeah.
So when you release the smoke, that pheromone is masked, and bees realize that the beekeeper is around,
Mm-hmm.
because bees recognize that smoke with the person that will come and do something with the hive. right? So bees will go back to the queen,
Right.
and the bees will go down to the 14 inches chamber, and then the 7 inches chamber is empty. You can take a frame out easily and close it again and go back to your harvest. So in the whole process, none of the bees are disturbed, and in the honeycomb there is only honey because bees have put all the pollen and larva and the brood in the bottom chamber. So none of those bees are also harmed. And one more thing, why they put pollen on the bottom chamber is because bees eat pollen. Honey is not their food. Pollen is called bee bread in industry language. Because pollen is what they eat. Honey they use like we use glucose or glucone to get a quick boost of energy before we go to our work. So this is what we do in ethical beekeeping. This is the whole
So,
process.
so Kunal, how does that change? So we've got a photo here of the traditional beekeeping. How is it different? Like, what are we looking at here?
So here, what you're looking at is a beekeeper that I work with in Chamba district of Himachal. He has these wall hives outside his house. These are called log hives. These are empty logs because these people live in the forest or close to the forest. So there are a lot of dry wood or dead wood lying on the floor. So they collect that, they make hollow trunks, and they put a hole. You see that triangular hole
Yeah.
in the hive, and that is blackened. So it's blackened with beeswax. So they have beeswax, they blacken it with beeswax, and they rub the beeswax on the insides of the hollow hive also.
Mhm.
Because when bees are trying to find a new home, when the bees are foraging for a new home, they will smell beeswax and they will think that maybe there were some bees that lived here in the past. So this is a good home for us. So they will come and make a home here. And these practices, although this is not that box practice that I was talking to you about, this is more ethical because they live in a co-living space. They understand co-living, they understand coexistence. So here you see this is a long hive, and in one hive which is at least 30 inches long will contain at least 15 honeycombs.
Wow.
And as a folklore saying, as a traditional saying, as a local idiom, they say only to take three rotis out of 10. These are rotis is a honeycomb in local language. Only take three and leave seven for them. So they don't need any scientific knowledge to know that. They know if we take more than three, the bees will run away because this person is greedy.
That's very interesting. I'm interested in the ancestral knowledge and how that plays a part in the work that you do. How do you incorporate indigenous knowledge and ancestral knowledge into your operations, into the work that you do?
Sure. So we started, like I was telling you, we started Tenacious Bee as something we were curious about. So that curiosity hasn't died. We are still learning every day. And if we are going to the village to work, we need to learn from the village first. We need to identify how they are living because going there with the perspective that I'll teach you science is a very, I think, misplaced perspective. These people have been living there for generations. They know how to live there. They identify things way easier than we are able to. So we went there to learn. So if you can move to the next slide, this is our model of operation. This is how we operate. So the first of this is a beekeeper's hive village. If you see on the left hand side top, is a beekeeper's hive village. So we identify areas where medicinal flower grows. We identify areas where people are in need of a secondary source of income. We go to those areas and we speak with people if they're interested in a secondary source of income, if they're interested in learning beekeeping. Are they aware of anything about beekeeping? And most of these areas, we're lucky. Most of these areas, because these are rural, fragile ecologies, people have some experience with beekeeping. They used to keep bees, or their grandparents used to keep, or somebody else used to keep bees, but there were always bees in and around them, either in their house or in the forest near their house. So we go to these places and we do training and capacity building. We train these people on understanding the scientific practice of beekeeping. But before doing that, we understand what kind of beehive they do. they already have in their houses, or what is their knowledge of doing it. And then we use the FAO's good beekeeping practice guidelines about harvesting honey properly, about using a certain kind of essential oils instead of antibiotics or anti termites in the hive. So we incorporate that knowledge, and most of these places, they have their own tips and tricks on how to manage a beehive. Like I was telling you about smoke. Smoke is one thing that you have seen every beekeeper use. In one of the villages I went, and this old guy who was a beekeeper, I was seeing his bees, and he was showing me very curiously his different types of beehives that he has in his wall. And he said, and he didn't use any smoke. Instead, what he was doing was uh, he was chewing on fennel the spice. He was chewing on fennel, and he was blowing the fennel, blowing on the bees. So he's saying fennel is also a master. Fennel also masks the pheromone smell. So instead of you going for a smoke, if you don't have a light or something, you can just chew fennel and just blow on the bees. Blow, bees will go. So these kind of knowledge are not available in any book. We,
Have you used fennel?
of course, of course. After that, this is now my trick also. If I have a smoker, I say, oh, no worries, just go to your spice cabinet, give me some fennel. I like seeing this surprised look on my student's face. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So we do that. We train these people on scientific beekeeping. We learn from them on how they do beekeeping. We incorporate the different things that we can. And the second step is because these places are also where now the focus is moving towards tourism or hydro projects. Hydropower is a major contributor to our economy, our state
Mhm.
economy, and our Western Himalayas economy. So people are turning more towards the commercialization of everything. It's like it's something which is available at home, so I don't really care for it too much. You don't really value something which is always available. So people in the rural community, the aspirations and the realities are very different. Their realities are that they are living in these fragile, beautiful ecologies, but their aspirations are they want big buildings, they want lifts in their houses, they want cars to come at their doorstep, which is not possible in most of the world. So how do we incorporate this is where the education part of it comes in. We try to educate the community on what values they have around them. To not look at the city, to not look at how different people are doing it, but look at what you have in your context and produce from it. We live in Himalayas for, I mean, it is known for its medicinal flowers. So we can definitely find some, but right now we are not looking at it because it's like something which my grandmother used to give me. So it's all right. It's always available. So how do we bring this knowledge in a way which it can be commodified, but commodified for the betterment of the ecology and the community that is bringing it to the market. So the second step becomes increasing bee habitat. We identify these medicinal floras that grows in those regions, and we encourage the community to grow it more. Enough for bees to make honey out of it. Enough
Mhm.
for you to have a raw material that you can use to make end user product. And that's where the third step of our model comes in, which is scientific intervention. We work with Himachal Pradesh University, we work with different agricultural universities and freelancing scientists to look at the elements that are available to us and how do we make an end user product out of it, which is based in the context that I'm working in.
Mhm.
And that's where the traditional knowledge also comes in. All the knowledge that we have gained from this community, we take that knowledge to a scientific expert with the elements that we have in our hands, and we devise things. It's just about connecting dots. Somebody has done a research on the ethnobotanicity of this tribe. Somebody other has done a research on the medicinal value of this plant. Somebody else has done a market research on what is the demand of this particular product. It's just that none of these are connected. What we are trying to do is connect all of them and bring it back to the kitchen to make those things. And
Mm.
once this is done, that's where the next step of art intervention comes in. That's where we work with the community to talk about these issues in a not so boring way. Because when we talk about biodiversity crisis or environmental hazards, People tune out. It's like, okay, somebody else's problem. Somebody else will fix it. COP28, COP29, COP30 will happen. They will fix it. We don't need to. How do we make it urgent? How do we make these conversations dining room conversations, living room conversations? Is what we do with the community in the form of community tourism. Like working with Planeterra, we are enabled now. We've been trying to do this for some time, but now we are more enabled to engage with the community in the form where it's tourism for them. But by the end of the class, by the end of the session, they are more educated on what they as an individual can do to slow down the biodiversity crisis, to help the community that they are working with, to help the community that they are surrounded by. Because right now, with the capitalistic means available to us, all of us are very isolated.
Yeah.
Right? We think it's only my problem or it's somebody else's problem. But in the end, if we take a step back and look at it, it's everybody's problem. And we don't know what role we play in it. So with Tenacious Bee Collective, using bee as a lens, we are trying to talk about all those things. And we are using every mean available to us to bring this idea home that it's too late, but we need to act. As an individual, as a collective, we need to act. And community tourism plays a huge part in that.
Absolutely. I love the image of, because bees being pollinators, and the image of bees, pollinating everywhere, but also this is pollinating knowledge, it's
Yep.
pollinating skills, it's creating community around the bees and the honey, and bees being a communal animal, they're a social insect.
Mhm.
Bringing community around is just such a beautiful image and beautiful metaphor for what you're doing and the bees, and how community tourism is enabling people from far away, thousands of kilometers, to come and
Yep.
then also be part of this community and learn about the amazing work that you're working on and that the communities are working on, and then providing also those resources so that the communities can be uplifted, so that they can reach their potential as communities in the Himachal Pradesh area.
Yeah. 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 That's the
Fascinating.
idea, to instigate people to learn from here and replicate in their own community.
That's
Yeah.
great, and I'm interested in, and I know we'll talk about this in a second about community engagement, but I'm interested at this point around the younger generations, because we have a big problem around the world of younger people leaving the countryside and flocking to the cities because their ambitions are to have a more modern life in their eyes. How do you work so that you can transfer that knowledge and that passion for bees to the younger generations, providing them more inspiration to want to stay in their communities and contribute positively and productively to their communities?
Yeah. That's the problem I, being part of the same community, also face. My aspirations were also to get out of the village and live the city life, see the sea and meet people and do all kinds of things that villages does not have the resources for. But then when I went back, I think after living in cities for a few years, after understanding the city life or experiencing the city life, I think I never really understood it. But experiencing the city life, I went back and I am able to look at everything around me in a very different light. So I am trying to expose my community to that light. I am trying to work with these people. See, right now, when we think of farmers in Himachal, there are either orchardists or there are very small farmers, people who have a small farm that they're growing for their own use, right? Or they have big orchards that they're selling the crop to the nearest states and other places. The middle person is looking for jobs. They're looking for jobs. And why they're looking for jobs is because for them, working with the land is a dirty, toiling work. It's exhausting. Do it. They don't want to do it. Everybody's delegate. Everybody wants to have a mobile signal, if nothing else. They want to have a signal in their phone, right? They don't want to go. Beekeeping is a work where you have to go to forest, where you have to go to regions where there is no signal, there is no human around you, right? How do we instigate these people to do it? Is by bringing different people from different communities together in the village. Like right now, you are not just a beekeeper; you are an artist who knows beekeeping, who can talk about beekeeping in various different ways. You are a farmer who not just plants these things. You are a farmer who also is an alchemist who knows how to use this flower and use this oil and make something which is completely healing for your scar. And you bring them that knowledge and you expose them to that. You bring people from the cities to learn from them. And that's when they realize, okay, I have this importance. Because as humans, I think we all are looking for external validation. So I am trying to validate their skills. I'm trying to validate that you already have this knowledge. It's traditional knowledge. It's already steeped in you. All you need to do is look it from the perspective where you also feel joy. It does not feel like work. These ladies that you see, these are all homemakers. This is their first job. This is their first paid job. They've been working in the farms. They've been working in the kitchen. They've been taking care of the house, the family, the animals. They're working, but this is their first paid job. The the experience of getting your own money, which you don't have to explain to anyone where you are going to spend it, how you're going to spend it. I think that freedom is a huge incentive for them also.
Mhm.
And they are not working on the farm. They're working in the kitchen. They're working with beeswax. They're working with essential oils. They're living in a very fragrant environment. They're using all kind of moisturizers. They're experimenting with things. So they are living the life. And because they are living the life, they have become our brand ambassadors. So now I don't need to talk to people much about why you should do this and not go out to the nearest city to work as a whatever you're going to work there as. These women are becoming that. And I think the smaller communities, this is a very pro and also a con, I think, for smaller communities. We tend to follow each other.
Mhm.
The idea spreads like fire. So that's what's happening right now.
It's like the pollen. The ideas are spreading like pollen.
It's a good season.
So we have a photo here of. So what? Explain this photo. What's happening here?
Okay, so this is a beehive. So because we live across this green tree, right? So bees, the Apis bees, which are local to our community, our area, endemic to our region, they live in cavities. So these bees tend to move into people's old wooden almiras, old wooden roofs, because they like wood and they like dark spaces. And we have vernacular homes still being used by people, mud and wood homes. So bees move there. So I got a call from somebody that we have bees in our house and they're disturbing us. Please take them away. So this is a photo from a series of photos where we had yes, this is the person whose bees they were, and I have made a small DIY bee vacuum.
Hmm.
So vacuum the bees, they all come into this transparent box, and then I got these bees to the farm. So I was explaining this person how to put these bees in the box, and does he want to keep the box with himself? Because if bees are there, it means it's a good area for the bees. So why
Yeah,
not keep them? I'll make them more manageable for you, but you keep them. So that's what I was doing here, and he was a little skeptical and
I have a
about keeping.
photo. The next photo is of the bees in the box.
Yeah.
They've.
So these are all the bees going inside because I found the queen and I put the queen inside. So like I said, worker bees are genetically wired to move next to the queen. So they are all now traveling inside the box.
Excellent. Mission accomplished.
Hmm. Yeah.
How many instances of this do you have to deal with? Like, let's say a month or.
So it doesn't happen in a month as such, but it happens during spring season. And spring season, it could be anywhere between 5 times in a week to thrice in a day also sometimes because everybody is getting bees in the house. And now, because I've been working with the community for the last 6 years, they call me Wala. Makhiwala loosely translates to the one with the bee, bee person. So call the Makhiwala, call the Makhiwala.
The bee
Yeah,
whisperer.
yeah. I wish. Yes. So yeah, so I get a lot of calls during spring, during fall, but like right now there won't be any calls, there won't be any bees disturbing anyone. So yeah, seasonal, but yeah.
That's good. That's really interesting. So the next question I have for you is around engaging communities. Now we talked a little bit about community tourism. I'd be interested in hearing how little bit more about some of the community tourism experiences that have been developed as part of Tenacious Bee Collective's work. But talk me through a little bit about how you engage with communities or small scale farmers. You mentioned a little bit about the scientific knowledge that you share and then the reciprocal ancestral and indigenous knowledge that they share back with you. But also, how do you share knowledge around non-exploitative methods of beekeeping? I think we can go through a few photos and you can explain what's going on in those photos so that we can understand a little bit more about how you do that.
Sure, sure, sure. See, one thing, Tom, I would like to say, and this has been my experience across the rural communities that I've visited, not just in Himachal or in Himalayas. People in rural communities, they are more understanding of the line between exploitation and harvesting, even when it comes to the milk of the cow, or if it comes to honey, or if it comes to the egg of chicken. I think they understand that if they want, because when you start living with an animal, you start understanding that animal, be it any animal. So they have a little more understanding than people in the cities do about where the line of exploitation starts. So the exploitation has never been a big problem. The problem has been on how to manage the pests in the beehive, or how to manage the diseases in the beehive, or how to increase the replicate the beehives, like have more number of beehives. That was our biggest thing that people needed knowledge on. But exploitation, like I told you, there were things in the folklore that said only 3 honeycombs you should take out of the 10, because this is for this god, this is for this god, this is for this god, and then these are for the. So the folklore is already telling them to not exploit this. But yes, the traditional knowledge, like you see this photo here, this is a group of ladies that are from the local community and are working with us. This is from a workshop we did on using beeswax and local. We have a lot of calendula flower growing and a lot of marigold growing. How to use local calendula flowers oil and marigold to make soap. So this is in the process of making soap.
Right. So you're using the honey as a catalyst for developing other commercializable products like soap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So what do we have here?
So this was a very exciting thing for all of us. These girls that you see on the left hand side, they are chemistry students from the local university. And this lady with the apron on the left is one of the team members from our team. She's the lady from our community. She is somebody who never worked in her life before. Now she's here teaching the undergrad students on how to use beeswax to make aromatherapy candles, and the kind of confidence this gives them, the kind of quote unquote status it gives them in their own local community, that we are going to train those undergrad kids, we are going to train those college kids, scientists. They call them scientists. Anybody who's studying science is a scientist. We went to train the scientists. So this is what we did. We trained a group of 15. Yeah, we trained twice. Once was a class of 15 students, and then another was with 45 students, where we trained them on making beeswax aromatherapy candles. So this is what is happening in this photo.
That's amazing. So I'm guessing that the sense of pride and the sense of purpose of those women just increases because of this interaction. It's such an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Really. That's great. Okay, so what about here? You mentioned before when we were talking that you were bringing people to from the urban areas. Is this what's going on here?
Yeah. So this is a photo of an urban area actually. Where, so like I was saying, I'm using bee to talk about everything. I'm trying using bee to do everything I can to talk about the environment, talk about the ecology, and an individual's role in it. So this is a local farm near Delhi, where I had convinced the owner to install bees in their property by telling them the value the bees will bring to them. And this is us installing beehives there. And then they called their friends to learn about bees. So this is us teaching them about bees and beekeeping and what happens. And all of these people got excited. Now I have a list of people that I again need to go install their bees. So this is us just getting these people excited about bees. And these are two, three different types of beehives that we kept there.
That's excellent. Do you notice? Do you know if any of those people who have come to visit these projects, do they go home and start their own beekeeping activities?
All of them have called me. All of them, we had like 15, 20 people come in. Two of them were German, everybody else was Indian. All of them have called me that they want to attend a honey tasting session to know more about honey and the bees, and they want me or my team to come and see their farmhouse and tell
That's
them the
excellent.
potential.
That's excellent. That's spreading knowledge. That is. That's great. Excellent. And what is this honey production? Is this
Yes, this is the bottling of honey. We are bottling honey in our workshop.
okay?
Ladies that work with us in the workshop, they make and use the products like you saw the previous photo, and they also pack and ship our honey.
Great. So explain to me a little bit about the community tourism side of what you do. So how do you translate the amazing work that you're doing through beekeeping to a community tourism experience?
So there's a couple of things. Right now, the biggest thing is people are not exposed to a lot of things. Like when we talk about a honey tasting session, I have met people who have done cheese tasting, wine tasting, a lot of other things, but honey tasting is the first time they are hearing it. So we do events, we do engagements where honey is not the only product or the only thing we're talking about. We're talking about bees, and we're talking about bees as bioindicators. Because bees are the bioindicators. If there is a problem in the population of bees, if it's increasing or decreasing in any area, it is an indication that there is something off about that ecology. So we are talking it from that perspective. And why I take honey in the front is because when I talk about bees, honey is what comes to people's mind. So I want to give them something that they recognize and then show them what is behind it. Make them understand how our individual actions are impacting the community at large. This here is a small workshop I did with a tribe in Jim Corbett in Jim Corbett in Uttarakhand. This is for WWF, World Wildlife Federation. So this is a community which is a very matriarchal community. All these ladies are part of a self-help group in that village, and they wanted to know more. They were keen on learning more about how they can do something about the bees, because they, like any other rural mountain community, have bees in their houses or have bees in their locality or have lived with the bees. So I went there with the stuff that we had made in our workshop. I showed it to them. I made them taste different varieties of honey that we have harvested, and we had conversations around how this honey tastes very similar. So I said, okay, this is from this flower. Does this flower grows in your area? Oh no, it doesn't grow in my area, but it grows in my mother's village. So that's where I've tasted it. So we tried to connect different dots, and my plan was to bring few of the ladies from my village to here, because then they will meet somebody of, because even now I am from the community, I am from the same social class, but I am still an alien. I am still somebody who's learned all these things and come back and teach them. So to take one of the ladies from my village, from my team here, and ask them to speak with them is a completely different game. They understand, okay, this person is exactly like me. If she can do it, I can do it.
Hmm.
So that is what we were trying to do here also. I was trying to show them the products of the ladies that made them, and I was telling them it's just like you, they are just like you also have this problem, they also have this problem. So we were just having a discussion on that.
That's excellent. And so going a little bit back to the community tourism side of things, is it more about just tasting, honey tasting, or do you also do some more hands-on beekeeping with
Look,
the
it,
guests?
it depends on what the community is asking. So we have done honey tastings in private estates for people and their friends, for clients and their friends. We have done beekeeping workshops like you saw in the previous photo. That was a beehive installation and a beekeeping workshop which went on for 3 days. And then we also have a small land in the village that we are working on. We have a small farm where we grow things that we use in our ingredients also. And there and in the area in that village, we have two vernacular houses that we have taken on there. And they have the mud hives there, they have the wall hives there, the traditional wall hives there. So we bring people in to show them different types of beehives. We make them taste different types of honey. We tell them the story of bees, we tell them the story of honey, and we tell them some bits and pieces from different folklores around honey and bees and everything. So to give bee a personality, to humanize it. So we do these kind of activities in various different forms, from tasting to workshops to seminars, room seminars I have done, where I've explained people on the difference between a good honey or a bad honey, or beeswax and paraffin wax and all those things. Yeah.
Great. That's excellent. And I have one last question for you, Kunal. Um, if you had some advice to give to a community tourism enterprise that wanted to do something for their environment, something to improve the biodiversity in their area, what advice would you give them?
I think I'm still learning myself to be giving advices. But that said, I would say that learn from the community that you are trying to work with. Learn from them. Don't go with the aspect of teaching them. Learn from them, and you will realize how you are able to connect so many different dots. And the one thing in community tourism is the community. You have to keep it in the center of everything. Money might be slow, it might be late, things might become tough, but if the community at the end of it is getting some value, it's worth doing it. Like right now, when we talk about balance sheets at the end of the year, we don't really put the value of the environment, how much environment we are impacting in a bad way or a good way. We don't really count how many trees we have to cut to make something. It's just a cutting cost. It's not the oxygen cost. It's not the soil erosion cost. So if you're working with the community in the bits, a lot of it will start making sense. Maybe it will not make sense to your investors. Maybe it will not make sense to your friends, but it will make sense to you and the community you're working with. It's like my dog is like competing with me who can speak louder. Sorry for that.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Kunal. That was a really interesting chat, and I hope that everyone watching also found that interesting. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the time that you've spent with me today, talking about your amazing project and how community tourism and climate and biodiversity crisis solutions can work hand in hand to create an added value. But also to have a profound and impactful effect on the communities that you work with. And I'd like to thank all of the people who've been watching this or who have watched this. And I think the last thing for us to say is that this is just the first one. So we're going to do more fireside chats with other community partners to understand a bit about the work that they're doing. And now that we're coming to the end of the year, I also want to wish everyone, as well as you, Kunal, a wonderful festive season. So there we go. Thanks, Kunal, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You're welcome, Tom. Happy festivities. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.